Hi everyone. I'm just going to be starting a house blend in a few minutes. So I'm just putting up the comment. Let's be with just a second. Saying who is going to be here. So just we'll be starting just after 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock. And I will look for Rachel. And I'm just putting her name in now. All right, here we go. Okay, everyone, I'll just be starting in 1 minute. Pinning comments is not easy on the fly. Where are we? Toronto. Okay, I'm going to post this. I'm going to pin it. Great. Okay, let's look for... There we are. Thanks, everyone. Just awaiting Rachel. Should be coming. Hey, there we are.
Hi.
Hi, Rachel. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me okay this time?
I can.
Good. Well, thanks for being here. And it's 3 o'clock. There we are. So thanks, everyone, for all those who are joining. And Rachel, I'll do introductions in a minute. Welcome to House Blend Live, the gallery's, I guess, every 2 weeks program on Instagram Live, where we gallery curators speak with colleagues from not only the gallery, but around the Canadian art world to sort of take stock of the ecology of the world in which we all work. I'm Jonathan Shaughnessy, Associate Curator of Contemporary Art at the National Gallery of Canada, and I'm here this week with Rachel Buchholtzer, who is the Head of Programming and Strategic Initiatives at Art Toronto. So welcome, Rachel.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Definitely. Well, I was excited to, propose to bring House Blend to Art Toronto. As you know, I'm enjoying Art Toronto from my dining room. I'm working from home, as many of us are. Those fortunate enough to be gainfully working away right now, and yeah, and you are as well. And funnily enough, not in Toronto, I guess. I gather.
Not in Toronto. I'm actually in Montreal right now.
In Montreal. So we can do a lot from our virtual environments. And just before we get officially started, I just wanted to recognize, I live in the Gatineau, just across the Ottawa River from Ottawa, but where I live and where the National Gallery of Canada is situated is on unceded Anishinaabe Algonquin territory. And I always like to start by thanking the custodians of this really beautiful part of the world since time immemorial, and to recognize that, and also recognize all of our friends, colleagues, and those in the community, First Nations, Métis, and the very large Inuit community in Ottawa that I always like to recognize, especially always and especially in these days. Recognizing these communities is super important. And also, I think you're in Montreal, as we know, Rachel, so in that, I think we can also present an acknowledgement to the longstanding presence of the Kenyan Kehaka in Montreal, and Montreal being a convergence point of so many First Nations going back, again, to time immemorial. So on that, I wanted to bring from the land to the virtual environment where we are, and thank you again, and say hello again, Rachel. So Art Toronto this year, exceptional year, of course, exceptional year 2020 on so many fronts. But maybe we could just start by getting to know you a little bit better. Could you maybe tell us what your role is in the big initiative that is Canada's Art Fair?
Absolutely. So my role is really around both programming and partnerships, and also the convergence of the two. So this year, we're really lucky to have amazing partners like RBC, who've supported us in making this huge leap to taking an event fully online. I should say hybrid. We do have an in-person component, but primarily online. That's new. So Yeah, we're very lucky in that respect. And I'm also responsible for building partnerships with cultural organizations across the country. We're really grateful to have the National Gallery as a partner this year. And yeah, we have a lot of partnerships we're really proud of. So that is kind of the scope of my role at the fair.
Yeah, and we have been talking for the last few months, really, since you and Maya Nelson, the director of the fair, reached out, and it's led to a partnership, as you say, and the National Gallery is very happy to be present. I mean, in a way, I don't think that the National Gallery has been present at the fair. There's always been some involvement, maybe an event or two, but this year, the fact that we have a virtual gallery on the platform of Art Toronto, where people can get links back to all the future and present and ongoing programs at the gallery, and then participating in a number of the platform series events. So those will be, we should mention the dates for the fair. For the general public opens on Saturday, October 31st, so Halloween, big Halloween opening of Art Toronto, if I got the dates right.
Yes, October 31st to November 8th. So
To November
there's a
8th.
little while to check it out, which is great.
Yeah, and people can check it out. Just we'll put that up there now at arttoronto.ca, because I think it's really important to note that it is free this year, which is something notable, and very easy. I think just a registration to then get access to everything that is on offer, and that's a lot. And I'd like to unpack some of that with you right now. But before that, can we? I mean, I think we've probably got an audience like the gallery, the public of the National Gallery, that has various levels of links to the art world. So just in broad strokes, I mean, can you tell us a bit about Art Toronto? I mean, the platform as it developed, and what is it? I mean, it's more than just a commercial enterprise. I realize there's a lot going on. So can you just kind of describe the fair for us?
Absolutely. So, I mean, of course, this year it's taken a really different format. In general, as I'm sure everyone knows, art fairs are really an international, like a huge industry. It's really a point that punctuates the calendar year. There's a lot of different events. Fairs are used to galleries are used to traveling now to attend, reach different markets, gain exposure for the artists. So it's a really big thing. And for us, we are really, we like to call ourselves a regional fair with a national reach. We're the largest art fair in Canada. And this year has really been an opportunity to take our programming coast to coast, something that we always have strived to do, but this year we've really been able to, just by virtue of a lot of it being online. So we're working with organizations from totally the East Coast, like Fogle Island Arts, all the way to the Contemporary Art Gallery in Vancouver. So we're really, really lucky to be able to have those partnerships this year.
Yeah, and what is the public for the fair? I mean, it's a range, isn't it? I mean, I know that I've been having the chance, because in also building up the architecture for the gallery's presence at the fair, had a chance to look around. I've been making my way through, but it's not just art professionals, I think, that you expect to find coming through, whether in virtual or in real time.
Absolutely, yeah. So of course it's an important professional event, but also we have students coming through. It's really an educational opportunity because we do have so much programming. There's a lot of events, including ones with the National Gallery this year, and we can talk about that more. But there's a lot of opportunities to listen, learn, hear artists speak about their work. So yeah, we really do have a really broad audience, and this year we're really lucky to be able to offer the fair for free. So behind the paywall of a ticket, even. So that is a unique opportunity for sure this year.
No, I think there's a lot to sort of discuss there in terms of, I mean, when the call came out, and I wanted to ask you first, I mean, ideally the fair, it would be the fair, and I recall very fondly last year, being down for the, the preview nights, the opening days. Fairs are a place that we see art, but they're also special in that when we visit, I think as a curator, I can speak that, we go to exhibitions, we go to galleries, we visit. I mean, part of our research into figuring out what's going on in the art world, what are the conversations that are, that we should be aware of, what are we excited about? I think the fairs in general kind of bring that together in one place, and I mean, do become a bit of a conference or a trade show, if we want to be, just crass about it, in terms of where everyone gets together to see what's happening. And I know that Art Toronto in the past, at least, as far as I've always relied on it in this vast country that is Canada. It's a place where, you know, I make it to Toronto, Montreal, fairly often within a calendar year in a normal year. But to get out to Vancouver, to get to Calgary, Winnipeg, you know, wherever, or the East Coast is a little bit more challenging. And you get to see those people, at least, you know, once a year. It's almost like a reunion, almost like a, you know, it has that kind of feel to it of, you know, seeing people you haven't seen in a long time. I think that, you know, my experience already this year has been that it's, uh, well, I think we're getting used to just being closer than ever in some funny way. So I wanted to ask you about, well, first off, when was the decision made that it was just not going to be possible to do as you've done before? And what was that like, that transition, that awareness and realization?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely an interesting process, and I'm sure you had the same with a lot of your virtual events and transitioning things quickly. And I know for us, we were fortunate to have a bit of time up our sleeve and the time to really, when COVID started in March, we got together. We had a lot of focus groups with our various partners, galleries, all of our different stakeholders, and really probed in terms of what people needed, what we could offer. We made the decision, I would say, finally in July. So it was a few months of research, and then in July it was really, we found the platform partner that we're working with, and that's a whole new area for us, working with a tech company on building this digital site. So yeah, it's really been a process, and since then it's just been an iterative really thing where we've been learning as we go, and we've been really fortunate to have such a wonderful community around us, all the galleries that we work with every year, and our broader community. We've been really fortunate to have the support there and everyone really be on board from the get-go. So yeah, it's been a great process.
So when you reach out, I mean, you found there was enthusiasm from galleries, and we're talking about private galleries, but also you have a cultural institutions section of the fair, which the National Gallery is a part of, probably magazines. There are other public, like I'm sure they're also there. Was there enthusiasm then to say, let's get behind this, let's make sure that Art Toronto is as robust as it can be, in spite of the times?
It was definitely, you know, everyone was figuring it out as we went. So there was a lot of enthusiasm. There was also the fact that from our perspective too, you know, seeing art in person is really the best way, and we have to reconcile ourselves with that. And I know some of our galleries have really innovated, particularly the group that have joined at Stephen Bulger Gallery in Toronto this year, Pierre-François Houlette, Willa Bale from Vancouver, Yves Trepanier from Calgary. They've all staged a pop-up, which is amazing.
I had a phone call with Eve. I was just kind of doing the rounds a bit yesterday. I will continue to do for all those who might be watching over the coming days, and getting in touch with colleagues and galleries and gallery directors. And I made a plan to FaceTime with Yves Trepanier, the director of Trepanier Bear, and I didn't realize he picked up, and there he was in Toronto. And I said, "What are you doing?" And then Willa Bale, who I noticed on his Instagram was flying, you know, posted that he was flying to Toronto. So we're not traveling. I mean, it's just something that we can't do, but it's sort of great to say. And I know when I was talking, it seemed like, you know, yes, everything's online and that's one platform, but a few took the initiative to say, we need to do something also. And so that's interesting, I guess, for those in Toronto who can make the appointment. From what I understand, it's appointment, and all precautions and all regulations are being adhered to in terms of a safe visit. But that was something, and I understand that was really done also in dialogue with Art Toronto. I mean, this wasn't, you know, that's, and then can you talk about some of the other, because what I wanted to get back to, I keep bringing something up, but the first meeting that we had, I had a phone call with Mia, and she kind of was outlining the vision for the fair, and it struck me, having been going to Frieze, going to Art Basel, these other fair modules, they, you know, kind of the way that all fairs are responding. I really liked the model. It seemed to be quite hybrid that Art Toronto was proposing, where how can we make a fair that is online and virtual, which it is, but also having an active program in real space and physical spaces of the gallery. Could you talk a little bit more about how the vision for that?
Absolutely, yeah. So the vision really has been, as you said, a hybrid fair. So while the centralized component of the fair is the online booth spaces and our online programming, it's not just the group that have come to Toronto who are doing in-person programming. In fact, most of their galleries have got in-person events on the go. We have almost 100 events actually in galleries across Canada. We're calling our hub cities Toronto, Montreal, Calgary, and Vancouver because that's where the majority of our galleries are, but there's events in other cities, of course, as well. And really our goal is just to get people out to the galleries, out seeing art. From our perspective, it's really one of the best activities to do right now because you can do so safely. Like the galleries can limit capacity. It's obviously a no-touch space. So it's already really well set up to accommodate COVID-friendly visits. And we really want to encourage people to do that over the next 10 days because nothing replaces it. And it's a great do. And, being able to go online and watch talks and complement that in-person experience with some other programming is important to us. And I'm sure it's the same for you right now with the gallery and being open, but also having so many events online.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I echo completely what you're saying about the gallery's been open since mid-July, and I think it's getting, it's getting tougher, definitely restrictions as numbers are increasing again, and we're across the river from Quebec and Gatineau, and there's a whole other set of restrictions there and closures. So colleagues in and around Montreal who have had to close galleries again, that's something. But at the same time, what we're hearing from visitors and the gallery's public is, a real excitement about being in that space. And I think it is a space that offers, I mean, it's huge. If for those of you who have been to the National Gallery of Canada, I mean, with the reduced capacity on offer, it can't feel kind of safer in terms of you really have the place to yourself, even if we're at our 30% capacity, so to speak. So it is an alternative, and I think there's a thirst for it. And so however this might happen to offer that mixture of, the talks, I mean, that gets to something we were talking about when we did this discussion in French earlier, that I'm not sure how you go back to another model now, at least when it comes to the programs and talks section of, I know Art Toronto is a very robust platform series of talks. I know I've done one with Corey Jackson from the RBC collection on emerging artists. Our director, Sasha Suda, is in conversation with Greg Hill about Abenaki and Indigenous art at the gallery. And also Andrew Kennard, our associate curator of photographs, is in dialogue with Maura Davey about the Maura Davey exhibition that we have on presently, a Canadian artist based in New York. But these are all happening virtually, and I'm sort of sensing at the gallery that, how do we, when we get back into sort of the auditorium, let's say, I can't imagine that you wouldn't just think that you have to broadcast to the entire world, to the entire nation. How do you think that's maybe going to shift thinking around the table of Art Toronto at present?
I think keeping the national reach that we've been able to build this year is definitely going to be a big priority moving forward. I think it's an unexpected silver lining of this whole situation that I know our team, we're all really excited about it. The fact that we've been able to really build bonds with organizations across the country and with our partner galleries. So it's definitely something we want to continue. I think having programming across Canada is definitely going to be part of what we do moving forward. Well, of course, we all hope to return to our usual October in-person event, fingers crossed next year. But yeah, I think having events throughout the country during the fair and perhaps throughout the year as well will be something we continue.
Yeah. I mean, that's, and how does, I mean, that's another question where I know it's a small team. People might not think so. I think you'd probably look at Art Toronto and it seems, I mean, it's a huge undertaking to organize across the country, to organize everything. But I know you're quite a small group, in fact, I think that work full time on this and are totally dedicated. How does the year play out for you in terms of preparing for something like this, whether it's online or otherwise? I mean, is it constant throughout the year?
It is constant throughout the year. It is. We ran another art fair in Toronto, another annual fair called Artist Project, which usually takes place in February, although this year it will be pushed to the spring. So that usually takes up a few months of our year, and then the rest of the time is spent on Art Toronto. It's definitely at least a 6-month planning process that gets even more full on in, of course, the months leading up to the fair. And right now.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm sure. And does it mean that you get a chance to to visit much of the fair, or do you have to wait until a few days in to actually be able to collect your thoughts about everything that's on view?
Well, I'm lucky in the sense that I've worked closely on a lot of the programming, so I have been able to see much of that. But in terms of actually seeing the work at the fair, I've seen a bit and highlights from the team, but I'm really excited to dive in further and be able to really explore and see what's on offer from all of our galleries, because I know the content is amazing. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the chance to really delve deeper.
Yeah,
Sorry. I was just going to say, what have you been enjoying? I know you spent some
yeah.
of the day looking through.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think that our, I say our, like the National Gallery, and I think, curators, that we have the collection, work with the Contemporary Art Collection and my colleagues. So there's definitely a strong need, I would almost say, to be at the fair and be out there and in discussions, looking at what's on offer as soon as we can. I know that with the partnership with the Art Gallery of Ontario, they, our colleagues there really, I think, get a sense a week or more in advance of what's coming up, so they can make certain selections right away of the work that speaks to them. And I know that announcement was just made. But yeah, we go through, and I think that what strikes me, of course, we have many processes at the gallery. So I'm an associate curator in contemporary art. I don't just go around and say, this is wonderful, let's take it kind of thing. I mean, everything gets discussed right up to the level of our board, and there's processes. So I think really art fairs are tricky. They can be challenging for that, because it's a place where you do kind of sometimes, especially if you're talking about painting or unique objects, have to sometimes act quick because the works may not be there. But there's always discussions to be had, which means that it's really important to pinpoint where you want to go and what you want to see, and if there is interest, sort of have that conversation early. I find that there's a lot of that speaks to what art fairs can offer, because for me, I don't necessarily just approach it as, let's go and find that work, but rather, are there artists that I'm interested in? Which galleries are they working with? And within that conversation, is there a work at the fair, but also what's coming up? And so often at Art Toronto and otherwise, I've had surprises that have come not by what's on view, but rather by talking and then learning that artist is actually going to be in this exhibition somewhere coming up, and that maybe it would be best to have a dialogue and wait for that to happen. And then you kind of find the work that would be really well suited for entering into a collection like the National Gallery, which is really a national collection that aims to speak both nationally and internationally, or at least part of a dialogue that is quite global in that sense. So I think that within that, there's so many exciting, I mean, I really do think there's a number of galleries that, especially, well, across the country, I mean, it's really great to see what's happening and how galleries are, what they're bringing from around, not just Toronto, but Montreal and through the prairies out to Vancouver and again, the East Coast. And so I'm always excited just to kind of make sure I do a cross-section, a sampling of all of these places and what's on view. I haven't had a chance yet to really delve into the programming, which I plan to do probably over the weekend. All of the fantastic platform series. Maybe you could kind of highlight a bit of that, because I noticed that there's a lot of relevant discussions, certainly around, well, I feel like the platform series is reflecting many of the active discussions in the world, in the art world right now. I mean, not just around COVID, but we know we've seen so much critical engagement and activities around museums, museums and institutions and their place within systems of systemic racism. There's a lot going on around colonial histories, thinking about collections in that way. And I think that this is reflected on in a lot of the platform series this year. And maybe you could speak a little bit about how those programs develop and the kinds of dialogues that lead to who's speaking there between artists, curators, and the like.
Yeah, we've been really fortunate with our programming this year to have, I believe we're working with over 18 partner organizations on our talks. So they've all really been collaborations. And it's been a real joy to work on that side of the fair and really be able to do a broader program than we usually are. we've really had an intentional focus on everything that's going on right now, specifically around Black Lives Matter and how that plays out in museums. So we do have a talk on decolonizing museums that was done in partnership with the AGO. We're really thrilled to be able to have that discussion as part of the fair. I know the National Gallery also has several conversations on this subject, especially the one between Sasha Suda and Greg Hill around how Indigenous artwork is being, the role of Indigenous work at the NGC moving forward.
Yeah.
And I haven't had a chance to check that one out, but I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah, it's definitely been really a collaboration this year, and being able to extend our reach and work with organizations beyond our usual scope has been amazing.
And would you say that on that there's also like I think what you get a sense of, and I also really, well, I think any fair, but fairs deal with this differently. Is we think about contemporary art, we think about galleries that are working with living artists, but it has to be said that that's not the only part of the fair. And I think that there's a number of galleries that certainly always bring or do work with either estates, or they work with artists that are or artworks that are from before what. I mean, at the National Gallery, we consider contemporary anything from around after 1990 these days. The last 25 years is part of the dialogue of the world we're in now. Whereas if you start to move back, you get into modern or, the 80s. But I've actually found some really high level, like important works by Canadian artists that were created in, in earlier periods, like more what we would consider modern art histories. And I think you get a flavor of that at the fair. But I know that there's also a big push on supporting emerging practices. That was the talk that I was engaged with, that is going to be on the platform, is ready to be seen, with Corey Jackson. And is that been, I mean, I think for the fair itself, is promoting kind of new voices onto the scene something that maybe through the partnership with RBC, I think that's important. But is it something that has become a big part of the fair, would you say?
Yes, absolutely a big part of the fair. RBC's program is amazing. Their Emerging Artist Project is something we are really grateful to be able to highlight. And yes, for us in general, promoting both emerging practices, but also historic works, we really aim to run the spectrum. I think focusing on Canadian artists this year has been really something we've been grateful to be able to do more of.
Yes.
Because I think I said this to you when we were speaking in French, but I feel sometimes, and I think all of us as a team feel sometimes, that we look outside of Canada. We look at what's going on in the US at some of the big fairs like Basel, like Frieze. But really this year we've looked inward and really appreciated the diversity and scope of what exists here in Canada, and really wanting to lean into that more. And I think that's something we'll take forward as well.
Actually, this I think is hugely important, and you're bringing it up in that context. And I think about it a lot, also as a curator working with the National Gallery of Canada, and sort of this mandate to collect certainly within Canada, but against a kind of against an international and national framework. And I think a lot of the conversations have kind of turned to, well, what does it mean to be here now? And I'm really interested in that question of the mandate for Art Toronto, that kind of national, also in terms of thinking of the virtual environment. I know that in the past, when I've experienced the fair, there's been a focus, I mean, whether it's artists from, I think there was a focus on LA one year, a focus on galleries from South America another year. There's been this focus on trying to bring those galleries to Toronto, to Canada. Now with the virtual environment, I wonder, because it's a very tough situation, really, when you think about it's all, if you're going to go to one online fair and try to participate, or another, who's looking, what's the market for that? And I wonder, I've noticed that maybe what I guess I'm saying with that is some of the galleries I'm noticing are coming to the fair, maybe from the States or from elsewhere, who do have a history of working with Canadian artists, kind of entrenching those dialogues, which I think is really important. I think something that could be really needs to be highlighted, I think,
Yes.
right now, right? Not, the way that also Canadian artists are working, and within that framework, I mean, Indigenous as well, as artists in Canada. But I don't know if you've seen a shift, like, is there really, how that's played out this year with the virtual environment?
I would say if in terms of a shift, it's really been an intentional focus for us.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the conversation in general, I mean, I think things are going to continue to evolve as we move through this pandemic period as things change in terms of regulations, what can open, what cannot, what does travel look like, all of that. But I definitely think that this moment where we've really focused inward and focused on Canada has been something that will have a lasting impact.
Yeah. No, that's very exciting. And I guess because it is Canada's art fair, as you know, I
Yes.
think Art Toronto is, and it is the biggest. And I think there's definitely, and that's why I think it's really important also to sort of, I'm really happy we're having this conversation and just really looking at this platform as a place where the art world in Canada gets to present itself, you know, to the country, but and beyond this year, certainly well beyond this year. I know you're up late nights and working all hours to get this just underway, but I guess I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you while you're doing all of this work, what you get most excited about with the fair once you get a chance to sit back and enjoy it.
I'm really, really looking forward to our National Gallery Hop Day, which is what we're calling it. We're having we're really pushing to have people go out to the galleries on November 7th, specifically across the country. A lot of the galleries will have special events, performances, and we're really encouraging everyone to do the same. As I know we've talked about in this conversation, being able to see art in person is irreplaceable. So I'm really excited for the opportunity to do that even this year.
So that's November 7th, and it's going to be across the country where different events will take place in each time zone accordingly to their program?
Exactly. There's more information on our website too. We'll be uploading some maps of each city so that people can have a little guide as they walk around. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one especially.
Put on your masks and away you go, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's that's great. I mean, it echoes. It's so important, and yeah, we can still do that.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Totally. Hopefully.
Yeah. No. Well, yes, that's true. Hopefully, and fingers crossed that all goes without a hitch. And certainly, when we're talking about the entire country, it's just this the way every place is affected differently is part of the signature of this this pandemic, it seems, as well. Even and in such a big country as Canada, there's no certainties. But well, I think that Rachel, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to bring up that we haven't covered, but this was really a chance to get to know you and get to know the fair a little bit better. Did we leave anything out?
I don't think so. I think we've covered everything. I mean, the last thing I would say is for anyone who wants to participate, arttoronto.ca is the place to go. Please check out the National Gallery's amazing programming. We're so grateful to have been able to work together this year, and I'm really excited about what we've pulled off.
It's I agree, and of course I should be the first to promote it as well. And that's in the cultural institutions sector of the virtual fair. I'm really happy about it too. I think it does point when people go there. It kind of also navigates our website a little bit because you know, Venice with Stan Douglas is a huge thing that's coming in 2022, and there's some mention of that, and it'll lead you right to where there's more information on the site and everything else. So it's been a pleasure to work on that with you, and I have to thank the teams at the National Gallery as well who have put that together. So I'll do that as well now. And yeah, and then I guess, you know, we'll have to regroup once you've had a chance to have a look around, and we can share all of our findings. I'm really excited to get back in there. And for everyone else, yes, it's you know, hopefully I don't think it can be underlined enough, free and online, and there's so much content, and really, and you could just get lost in there for a day or two, or, you know, a way to spend the pandemic, a way to spend isolation. Exactly. Yeah. Okay, Rachel. Well, thank you again, and good luck in the coming days.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
For sure. Okay. Bye. Bye. Oh, and thanks everyone for being here. I should do that too. Sorry, I'm always thanks for everyone who stopped in this week for House Blend, and please do stay tuned for upcoming programming. In another couple of weeks, we're actually going to be speaking around the Governor General's Awards this year that are out in Alberta. So stay tuned for more updates on that soon. So with that, bye everyone. Bye Rachel, and we'll talk soon. Bye. Bye.